Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration and Guidance. I'll throw that in there today because today's video will probably not be very inspirational, but it will be informative, so stay tuned. I'm going to tell you what the big lie is today. But before we begin, hit that like and subscribe button and the notification bell. Be sure to leave a comment in the comment section if you'd like me to speak on something, or I would like to know what you think about the topic we're talking about today. So, what is the big lie? Well, let me begin with this. It started back about 1960 with the women's liberation movement, that women can have it all. Well, they can't have it all. And guess what? Men can't either. But they've been programmed to believe by the narrative of consumerism to believe that they can have everything. They can have a career, a family, be a good mother, be a star CEO, the head of the company, and have it all. Men can't have that either. You can't have everything. We always have to eliminate some things if we prefer to have better things. The lesser things have to go for the better things, what we deem to be better. Now that choice is always up to you, as a man or a woman. Do you value family, the sanctity of a home, a husband, a wife, and children? Do you put that up above everything else as a woman? Or do you want to have a career and put all your time and effort into that? Well, for you women, when you get to be older, that career is not going to love you, nor is that husband. If you choose to put your career ahead of your children and your husband, his love for you will wane, because he will feel and see that you are not loving him or the children. A man who can take care of you, a high value man if you like, wants a woman who is going to take care of the family and provide a refuge for him when he comes in from the outer world of battling to provide for his family, which is you and the children. I'm speaking to women right now. We don't have that many women on this podcast, but there's a few of you out there I know. And for you men, a lot of you have bought into this, well, I want her to have a job. I want her to have a career. And you look at that like that's something valuable to you. She doesn't need to pay for everything. You need to provide her with a home, food, safety for her and the children. That is the best possible environment for kids to grow up, not in daycare. If raising kids wasn't a valuable service, we wouldn't have $1 billion industry of daycare in the U.S. Did you ever think about that? Who's raising our kids? It's not the mother and father much anymore, because women want to have this career. What more valuable career is there than raising the future of our nature, the future of humanity? Femininity has been pushed down and belittled so much it's frowned upon in the U.S., like it's a weakness. Femininity is a strength beyond masculinity in reality. Look at Napoleon, Mark Antony. There's several other great leaders, King Henry VIII, I think it was. Great leaders throughout history who have been persuaded by a feminine woman to achieve great things and to go to war. Helena of Troy, the Trojans, that story. I'm not sure if that's a myth, but there's a moral in that story. A woman with her feminine persuasion can bring down nations, can cause world wars, can also bring up nations by her empowering her man. And we seem to have forgotten that here in the U.S. for the idea of materialism, of having it all. Women are told nowadays that they can go out there and go to college, get a college degree, go have your career, and you still have time when you're 30, 35, maybe even 40. Hey, you can freeze your eggs, and then you can have kids. Doesn't work that way. By the time a woman is 30 years old, 90% of her eggs are gone, and her chances of getting pregnant are about 20% after 30. Also, her risks of having problem pregnancy or problems with the child, health problems, increase dramatically also. I didn't make this up. There's a study on it. There's several studies on it. So you can look that up yourself if you don't believe it. I don't have the link. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the description. But they're sold this that they can have it all. Their best time to bear children is between the ages of 15 and 25. Now, of course, in the U.S., the age of consent, at least in my state, is 17. Most states, it's 18. And most of the countries around the world, it's 18. But childbearing years are between the ages of 15 and 25. The best time for a woman to get pregnant, it's the most fertile time. And women are told to wait, to go out there and make some money, to have a career, to make their mark on the world. Not realizing that the best mark they can make on the world is raising kids and having a family. That's where they find their real fulfillment. How many women are feeling empty now and alone in their 30s? Where are all the good men? That's what they all say. Well, guess what? They had all the good men in their early 20s, late teens and early 20s. And they didn't take advantage of that. They didn't take advantage of the prime time of beauty, fertility, and attractiveness. And now they've been with a lot of men. They're in their 30s, and they can't find anybody who wants to be with them. They need to take advantage of the time. They only have a certain window of time. Now, men have a different window. Men don't mature until later. Really, a man doesn't hit his prime until he's about 35. And now most men don't know that either. And if you don't know that, that's the way it is. I didn't know it. I thought in my late 20s I was getting too old. But men mature more slowly than women. And men need to establish themselves before they can take on a woman and support her. If you can't support yourself, you don't need to be having a woman and getting married. It's up to you to provide for her. It's up for you to lead her. Are you internally strong enough to lead? If you're not, you need to learn how to be a leader. A woman wants a man that can lead. Not dominate, not be domineering, but to lead. Well, to dominate means first to dominate. You have to dominate yourself. But you don't necessarily dominate her or be domineering with her. You dominate yourself. You learn to control yourself and your emotions, because women need a man that they can lean on, a man that they can come to during their emotional storms, because they have many. A man who's not going to be swayed back and forth by her emotional storms. A man who is a rock, a man who is a mountain, a man who, when things go to hell, he tells her, "Don't worry about it, honey. I got this handled." Now, he may not feel that way inside. Inside, he may be having emotional storms of his own, but he can hold it together, unlike his woman who has a difficult time not expressing this, not acting on it, not being moved by it. If you're a man, you should be able to control your emotions. And if you haven't learned how, you need to learn how. Very important, because these are the kind of men women look for. She will constantly be checking you, giving you little shit tests, pressing your buttons to see if you react, how you react to these tests. She wants to know that you are a strong man. Many of you guys think that if you don't have looks, you'll never get a woman. Well, according to your faith, it is done to you. If you believe that, that will become true for you. But I've seen many guys who were lacking in the looks department be with beautiful women. because they had internal strength. Women are more attracted to what's inside of you than what's on the outside of you. How do you carry yourself when you walk? When you go into a room, do you slouch over? Do you feel like you're nobody? Stand up with your head straight up, your shoulders back. When you walk into a room, walk in like you own the room. Feel as if you own the room, and people will treat you as such. Walk in as a man of power. What is the difference between you and, let's say, the President of the United States? Well, let's not talk about the current president. Let's say the idea of the President of the United States. There's no difference, only in consciousness. You have the same capabilities as him, but it's your belief about yourself that you act on that projects your life into your manifested reality. It's all an inner game. You have to have your inner game correct before your outer world will correspond with that. Right now, if things aren't going good for you, it's because things aren't going good inside here. You have turmoil on the inside, and that reflects itself into your outer world. If you feel like you're a nothing, people will treat you as such. If you feel like your words are unimportant, people will act in that manner. If you feel like nothing you say matters, people will believe that whatever you say doesn't matter. Everything starts within you. Fix the inside, then the outside will take care of itself. My old boxing coach used to tell me, you are what you think you are. And I've spoken about this before, but I haven't spoken about it for a while, and I got bashed on Instagram for it, but I'll speak it again because it's true. When I first started boxing the first 2 or 3 years, I was too passive. When I would get a man hurt, I would not finish him off. And my coach would tell me, you're just not mean enough. You got to get meaner. So what I did was, I had found this book written by Russians about mental programming. And I started using those techniques, and I used affirmations. And one of the affirmations I used was, I am a tough, continuous, punching son of a bitch. Okay, and I told myself that over and over, and I saw myself visualizing myself in the ring, hurting my opponent, and when he was hurt, finishing him off. And when I had I had quite a few amateur fights, and when I had my first pro fight, I fought a guy, the first 4-rounder, and the first round I lost, as I usually did. I'm a little slow starter. The second round, the second round I won, and I stopped him in the third round. And when I got him up against the ropes, I kept hitting him until the referee stopped it. Now, before, I had programmed myself, when he got into the ropes, I probably would have backed off and let the referee come in there. But I didn't do that this time. I kept pounding him, knowing the referee. I wasn't thinking about this consciously, but I know the referee's job is to stop it before he gets hurt. And unless the referee stops it, if you don't continue, let's say you back off, that guy can come back and hurt you. What people don't realize, because I had this guy bash me, well, that's bad, you're hurting a person in a sport. Well, that's the whole object of boxing. So if you don't want to do that, don't get in there. I've had the crap beat out of me before. I fought a guy in prison, and the dang guy had put a half of a horseshoe as a piece of metal in his glove, beat the shit out of me. He knocked me down, got 2, 3 times, maybe more, I don't remember. That's how badly he beat me. I went all 3 rounds. I had hoped my corner would stop it, but they didn't. I changed coaches after that. I love that coach, but anyway, so I didn't know this, but I just knew that I was beat up. For 2 or 3 days, I was punchy. I had cuts on my head. Strange. I thought the guy had taken the stuffing out of his gloves. 30 years later, I'm talking to my old boxing coach, the one that I had then, because I went on to a different coach after that. I said, you remember when that guy beat the crap out of me up there at the prison? We went up to the prison to fight the prisoners. And he said, yeah. He said, I went over there and checked, and there was a half a horseshoe in that glove. I said, why didn't you say anything? Well, they had been, they had been rioting at the prison, so he was afraid to bring it up. But it made sense to me. Then I understood why that guy beat the crap out of me. So the point I'm making there is, after that is when I learned to be more aggressive and meaner in the ring, and I programmed myself to be what I was when I had that first pro fight and I won it. Because when you're in there, you can die. People die from boxing. So you have to be mean. Certain areas, you have to be, I think Jordan Peterson says it, you need to be incredibly dangerous. You need to be terrifying. But you have to have it under control. I'm 61 years old and I am dangerous. Now, does that mean someone can't beat the crap out of me? No, there's lots of guys out there that could beat the crap out of me. But I can stand my own ground. I can fight. I have skills. And that gives me a certain amount of confidence. I can go out anywhere and I'm unafraid. And if I feel fear, which sometimes I do, depending on what situation I'm in, I've been in fearful situations when I lived in Central America, I still know that I have the capabilities of handling crisis situations. I've been held at gunpoint. I've had people pull knives on me. I've been shot at. I've been in fights on the street where people tried to rob me. So I've had a lot of situations where I've had to use my skills, and they served me well. And I have been, I don't think I've ever been beat up on the street. I don't think I ever have. No, I haven't. But it could happen. I know that. You must always be aware of that. I don't care how tough you are. There's always someone out there who's tougher than you are. Always remember that. It's similar to when I bought my first motorcycle. The guy told me, he said, as long as you don't think you're the master of this bike, you'll be okay. But whenever you think you're the master, or you can't be defeated, or that you have it all under control, this bike will get on top of you. And I always thought of that during the years when I was riding. Very important to remember. You can be the toughest guy in the world, but there's going to be somebody else out there that's tougher. Somebody's always better than you are at something. And there's no shame in that. Nothing to be ashamed. That's humility. Humility is knowing who and what you are. If you're great, say you're great. If you lack somewhere, it's okay to say you lack there and work on it. There's nothing wrong with that. Be yourself, but most of you don't know who you are. Like with women, nice guys finish last. Some people say, be yourself with a woman. And a man is nice to a woman, that's not really who he is. How many times does a man tell a woman yes when he really wants to say no? I've done it. And then he gets angry because she doesn't like him because he's being a nice guy. Intuitively, she knows he is just doing that because he wants something from her. She knows that in reality, that isn't what he really wants to do. But he's doing it because he desires something from her. That's really not a nice guy. Be kind. Don't be a nice guy. Women despise nice guys. Even giving to women. I've been very generous with women, and that doesn't work well either. Because there's something about it. Let's say your woman does something for you that's really great. So you want to give her something great. And if you're in a position like I've been to do greater things for her than she did for you, they have a tendency to think that is a weakness, or it causes them to not respect you as much. I'm not really sure why that is, but it is. So there's a rule, the 2/3 rule, and they say for every 2/3 she does for you, you do 1/3 for her. Now that goes contrary to this equalism idea, this partner, this equal relationship. It's not equal. It never will be equal. Your woman does not want an equal. She wants to be equal with everyone else besides you. She wants to look up to you. She wants to admire you. And if you're doing more for her than she does for you, it makes her wonder about you. Why does he feel like he has to do so much for me? It elevates her above you, and then she looks down on you. She doesn't want you to elevate her. She doesn't want you to pedestalize her. Now, the same things you can do for a man, you can't do that for a woman. If you have a business partner, you can show appreciation to your business partner in certain ways you could never do to your girlfriend. Men and women are different. So don't treat a woman like you would a man and expect to get the same results. Wouldn't it be boring if men and women were all the same? They all thought the same, they all acted the same. Well, that's what the agenda or the narrative is in society today, is that we're all equal. Well, I do believe we're equal in the eyes of God, divinity, whatever you want to call it, nature. But we're not the same. We're not equal. Equal means the same. 2 and 2 is the same. A 2 is equal to a 2, right? 2 pieces of corn, 2 pieces of corn. Same thing. Well, a man, a woman, not equal. Not the same thing. Never will be the same thing. At least I don't believe we are going to evolve into sameness. If we did, we would die out as humanity. We would become extinct. So why would we want this sameness? I think it works well for consumerism. If you got men and women both out there working, they're both spending more money, there you go. It works well for the big businesses. So don't want women to be like you. Admire and enjoy their differences. Not to admire the woman, but admire that God made us both different. And there's a polarity, masculinity and femininity. And when those things are together in balance, then you have unity. It works well. That's the way it's made to work. And it's worked well for thousands of years. We're not going to change it overnight with 60 years of women's liberation.